Hey, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I've got a wonderful comedian named Brad Atkins with me today. Brad, how are you?
What's up, Scotty T? My brother from Pennsylvania.
I was just gonna say, you're in Pennsylvania, right?
I am. Yep. I'm just outside of Philadelphia, in northeast, like in Bucks County.
Okay. Were you born and raised in Pennsylvania, Brad?
Yeah, I was actually born up in the Poconos area.
Okay. And when you said Philadelphia, I spent many years in Philadelphia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, tough town. I used to manage the Sam Goody record store in King of Prussia.
Record stores? What are
It-
those?
yeah, I know, I know. I lived in uh,
Okay.
Horsham, Pennsylvania. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I live in Southampton.
okay. Well, I want to, I have a lot of stuff written down, but I was real taken back by your message you sent me, and I'd like for you to tell the people how you started, doing comedy.
Sure. So I kind of started backward, I guess you would say, from your typical comedian. I have a place up in the Poconos that I've been going to for 35 years, and it's a big campground, and just a nice big community. And one of my best friends I've known forever is in charge of scheduling all the activities during the summertime.
Right,
And so we were bouncing off different activities because they had been the same for so long. And I said, what about getting, a couple comedians in here? We've never had that done before, and this is in like May, and we had scheduled it for Labor Day weekend.
right,
And this is back in 2001, or I'm sorry, 2021. Um, and he just was having a real hard time, finding a comedian to come into a campground and do it.
right.
And so we were about 3 weeks away from our deadline, and I said, well, I guess I'll do it. And he said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, how hard could it be?"
Right.
So, um, so I ended up doing it that Labor Day weekend. So my first ever comedy set was a hour long presentation, an hour long bit show that I did for free for about 200 of my closest friends and family.
Okay.
And that's how I got started doing comedy. And it was just supposed to be a once and done thing. What
Right.
happened was the first year I did it, my kids had both come down with COVID, so they were with their mother and didn't get to see it. So I said, well, I'll do it a second time then. So my girls can see it. I have a 13 and a 22-year-old,
Okay.
and so the next year I did it again, another 50-minute new set.
Okay.
And then I said, that's it. I'm officially done. Never doing it again. I got paid for that one though. Um,
Okay.
and then I ended up volunteering a year ago for a comedy duo called Vinnie Marks and Scott Baker, the quickest thinkers in comedy. Volunteered and got pulled on stage for some improv stuff and had a good time with it. And I said, you know what the hell? And I started doing some open mics, and it's been about a year, a solid year now of the traditional grind, I guess you would call it, where it's open mics and networking and all that type of stuff.
Well, that's an amazing story, and I was I was really taken back by it because I thought it was funny how you were thrust into it, and then and to hear because you sent me part of it, but to hear you did it a second time and then you hung up, and then somehow you got back into it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it was great. It was I mean, thankfully I did very well, both times. And it was a weird feeling, to go up in front of that many people and really, crush it. And then I got that feeling that every, comedian gets after a show where it's like that weird low of, all right, now nobody's around and you're just kind of sitting there by yourself after, being the focal point for an hour of time. It was a little weird.
okay. Well, and do you want to mention again the two guys, the comedy duo that because I want to make sure we mention them.
Yeah, that's Scott Baker and Vinnie Mark.
Okay.
They tour all over the East Coast.
Okay.
They call themselves the, I forget what their tagline is, but if you just Google them, you'll see Baker and Mark. Um,
I'll
Very
try.
funny guy. They do
I'll
all
try and
improv
find it.
stuff.
Well, I wrote down some numbers here because your YouTube channel has 166 subscribers,
Yeah,
41 videos, and I made it 12,000 views. When I went over, you were 11,999. So I thought I'd watch one,
thank you.
get you 12,000.
Yeah, I
And
actually started up my YouTube channel as a single father. Kind of what I was going through, as a single father with my kids every other weekend, and we would
right.
always go up to the Poconos, and it was called Weekends in the Woods. Um,
Okay.
and I turned that into like a traveling kind of documentary type of thing, and then eventually changed it over to Brad Atkins comedy, and now just
Right.
all my comedy stuff goes up there.
Well, I wanted to ask you, are you, because I know you're on Facebook, are you on Instagram,
Yep.
TikTok, any of those?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, same thing, Brad Atkins comedy. Facebook, the same. I'm not. I had a TikTok going, and then somehow I logged out of it and can't get back into it. So I'm currently in the process of kind of bundling all that social media stuff up, and
Okay.
because I don't really know what I'm doing. Like you said, I got thrust into it, so I don't really know how to get that process started. I've talked to a couple people and some management companies, and eventually we're going to get all that kind of tied up into one main hub and branch out from there.
Well, I'll try to help you in any way I can, Brad.
Sure.
I've been doing it 4.5 years, and I'll stop the recording a little early. We'll talk, and now on Facebook you can message me anytime, um, because I think I've been doing quite a few of these, and I feel there's some people that are doing the stand up and doing the Instagram, TikTok videos, and then you have some people that are just stand up comics. They have a little bit of social media presence, but it's really not an entity, doesn't really matter to them. And then you have some that are just TikTok, Instagram
Right.
videos and have never performed in front of an audience at all. They just do clips. And I have my feelings about it. How do you feel about that?
Listen, I think there's a category for everybody. I'm kind of that guy in the middle where, I do my best stuff in front of people.
Right.
I'm not a computer techie. I'm not, that guy, and I dabble in it a little bit. But if you look at anybody successful, they have some type of social media presence, whether that's where they started or that's where they drifted into. Even you look at Louis C.K.'s and all those guys who, you know, tried to stay away from that as much as possible. Eventually, someone got in their ear and said, "Look, man, everybody's doing it. You got to do it too." So,
Well, I think it can't hurt,
right, certainly,
if you are a stand-up comic, um, to have some kind of social media presence. I don't think you need to be doing TikTok videos.
right. I
Um,
think I think some people are kind of afraid of the whole cancel culture and doing something that you can't remove. But I don't know if you can cancel a nobody.
um,
But I'm a nobody. So.
I was gonna say, but 4.5 years later, you know, I, I don't want to offend you, but I couldn't give a shit.
Exactly. I think everybody's seen kind of that turn and that shift away from that as well.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: if I get here and start doing LGBTQ or STU alphabet jokes, yeah, it won't take long before people say he's a rat prick, and whatever success I'm having would probably go by the wayside. I think you have to weigh. In other words, I think you can do dead baby jokes, but you better be prepared for the ramifications of
Right.
doing dead baby jokes.
Yeah, you better be prepared. You better have the following where you can take a little hiatus and have it not affect you as much.
Well, it's not a hiatus. It's build your community of people that like what you're doing.
Right. Right.
The people that love dark comedy. Unfortunately, those aren't the same people that love when I do like I did one this week on YouTube, and it was one of those, I call it a burner, where it's just like I go out, you're a comedy minute quickie, and I do a one-liner, and it was what's a policeman's favorite type of sweater? pullover. And I was shocked that it went to like 10,000 views because it's such a lame dad joke.
Right.
But yet YouTube is real funny. And as you do more of this, Brad, you're going to see that YouTube numbers are one thing, Instagram thing numbers are, the joke on Instagram that has 10,000 views may only have 1,000 on YouTube.
Isn't that
And
crazy? Yeah.
yeah, well, I think it's a lot of, they call it algorithm, but I think it's the levers. There's like the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind this curtain that pulls the
Yeah.
knobs. And I think too, as you do this more, especially when you get into the social media aspect of it, um, you can buy your way to the top.
Sure.
You can buy bots. You can buy, where it's if you go onto Google and do their AdWords thing or whatever, and
Right.
you can buy your way to the top. There's actually a movie, if you want to check it out, called Fake Famous, that's very telling on social media. Um, and I just happened to catch it. It was on HBO. It's called, no, you don't have to write it down.
I'll write it, but I will
it's a
forget
movie.
it.
It's a movie about a guy takes a total. He actually picks three, and he takes three nobodies, and he says to him, I can make you famous. Two of them quit. Two of them are like, no, I don't like what you're doing. And the third one, he turned into like 10th most, Kim Kardashian won. He made her like top 10. And it
Right.
was all, pardon my French, bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It was all bots and all her pretending like she was on an airplane. And I found it very, very interesting because just for me personally, I have never and will never pay for play. I won't pay to have someone,
Right.
I've been offered numerous times, hey, for $500, I can get you 10,000 subscribers. And
Sure.
to me, that's bullshit. That's
Yeah,
total
I'm
bullshit.
sure with your subscriber count, especially on YouTube, I'm sure you get approached with that quite a bit.
Well, you mentioned TikTok, and I won't do TikTok. I'll be honest. As you said in our thing, two Pennsylvania guys talking. TikTok actually sent me an email. And initially, again, I thought it was crap. I thought, oh, this is some kind of spam. And I sent it to a fellow YouTuber, and he sent me a message back. Said, Scotty, I don't qualify. I don't have 10,000 subscribers. He said, it's real.
Right.
And they wanted me to do over a minute long clips for them. And I no, no, because
Just talking one straight minute about Scrapple and apple cider donut.
no, I mean, I could do, I could easily I could do minute videos for them,
Sure.
and I have lots of them up, but I won't do TikTok because of China,
Right.
my
Sure.
COVID, spy balloons. And I always say it's not the people of China, it's the government that I just
Correct.
don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah. I hear you. I get on TikTok a little. I don't think I have. I might post a couple short clips from a decent joke or something I'm working on and see what type of response it gets. But usually it's a picture of my two dogs running around going crazy.
Yeah, I saw you have a beagle, I believe it is, that
Yeah.
I had two beagles.
I,
And I just
I made the mistake of I had two Rottweilers originally, and our oldest Rottweiler lived to be 14, and he was kind of on his way down, so we stumbled upon this puppy, and you know I've learned two things: one, I love Rottweilers, and two, I am not a puppy guy. But he's just over a year now, and he's starting to calm down a little bit, and he's a little bastard, but I love him. He's cute as hell.
beagles can look at you and just tilt their head and melt you.
It's terrible. It is
They can
terrible.
melt you. No, I
It,
know it. I
yeah.
shoot. I had two of them, and they could tear up a whole, get into my food and eat all my sandwich, and then just look at, give you
Yeah.
that look, and it's like, it's
Yeah.
hard to be mad at a beagle.
It is very, very, very hard. So
Well, let's get back to comedy because
okay.
did watch a couple of your bits. So just so the people know, you're going out and doing stand-ups and open mics.
Hmm.
And you mentioned New Jersey. Are you going, outside of Pennsylvania? Or are you starting to move out, other places?
I've done a couple things local around here in South Jersey. There's a couple comedy circuits that work in this area that I've done a
Okay.
couple open mics for. I actually I messed up one of my I think I messed up there was an open mic and I got up and did a callback to the host. And the host basically looked like, Luke Combs, but not really. So I did a callback where I was like, oh, it's good to be, introduced by the Walmart version of Luke Combs.
Oh,
And
oh,
and typically you would think that would be kind of funny, but unfortunately the owner of this comedy circuit was that person. So I kind of shot myself in the foot there, but I'll work my way back. But usually most of it's PA, in the Doylestown, Bucks County, um, some stuff into Montgomery County, is where I've done couple shows in Philly, Center City, Philly, and in fact, last night somebody just asked me to do something down in North Philly. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm slowly branching out. In fact, tomorrow night I have a networking Zoom call with a couple people in the area as well. So
okay. Do you foresee yourself doing this? And no one's Nostradamus, but do you foresee yourself
yeah,
doing it for a
I
long
mean,
time?
you know I'm 45 years old. There's not a whole lot of 45-year-olds that broke into the business and made it big. I enjoy doing it. I kind of I've listened to some people that I respect in the comedy, local comedy world, and what I found was the more I listened to people, the less enjoyment I was getting out of it. So look, if I got about 10, hopefully 10 more years till I can retire. If I can book a couple gigs in Florida and book a couple gigs up here in the summer, I'd be more than happy with that. It's just something I do for fun. It's my outlet. I don't do drugs. I'm not a big drinker,
Okay.
so it's kind of like my outlet to, relieve stress. Plus, I
Well,
just like meeting people and making people laugh.
you said 45. I'm 61, and I started doing this 4.5 years ago. I got fired from my job for telling jokes,
At
and
Lowe's, right?
yeah, no,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And it's one of those things where kind of like you, where my whole life. I did one recently, and I said to him, when you start doing comedy, he said, I've been a damn fool my whole life. And that's kind of me. I've been a damn fool my whole life. I was class clown. And finally, I guess the Lowe's firing was the whipped topping, the whipped cream on the cherry on the top. And I said,
Yeah.
but getting back to what you were saying about social media, when I first started it, I was just copying memes and posting them and building up a following on Facebook. And I thought I was doing comedy. And my sister said, Scotty, it's called Your Comedy Minute with Scotty T. I think we need to see Scotty T.
All right.
And that's when I decided, okay, well, I guess I need to, step it up a little bit. And
Yeah.
um, kudos to you, though. I mean,
Thank you.
I think this, Brad, because you said you watched some of my stuff, and if you know a little
Hmm.
bit, I worked in the music business, and there are groups that I worked with that are big stars, and there are other groups like Cheap Trick that just toured and played and enjoyed playing, and they had
Mm,
some success, but they weren't. Robin used to say, "Rod Stewart's a rock star. We're just musicians that work."
right.
And it sounds to me like you have the right idea going into it.
Yeah.
If you do end up having some great success, wonderful. But in the meantime, if you can just enjoy making people laugh and you know,
Mhm. Yeah, I have a buddy of mine, Glenn Friedman, who's also a comedian, very popular around here.
okay,
He closes his shows out all the time with, laughter is just one of the things that we all have in common. I don't want to steal his line exactly, but
right,
it's something that we can all have in common and forget about the rest of the bullshit out there. And that's kind of how I feel. I don't care what color you are, what race you are, what you
right,
believe, who you voted for. If something's funny, you're gonna laugh at it. So
yeah.
so
That's
it's
what
funny
my
you
mindset.
mentioned just getting back into it or getting into it at your age. I had done a new comic competition last month for the Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown, and I came in second place, which is fine. But the guy I lost to was, I think, 71 years old, 70 or
Yeah,
71 years old.
yeah,
Um, Joe, super nice guy, great guy. Joe Bell is his name.
right.
Um, and lost to him at 71 years old. He's only been doing it for a year or so.
Yeah.
So I one of those games you can get into whenever, you know.
Well, I think this too, because I just did one the other day. Joe Scaraca, whatever. And Joe is closer to my age, and he just started out. He's only been doing it a year, but I got to tell you, Joe's act is as polished. In other words, I think it's like almost like a guitar player or a musician. That some guys are just gifted. They can pick up the guitar and they've
Yeah,
only been playing, you know, and they're
sure.
just as fluent as an Eddie Van Halen. And you have guys who've been practicing and playing for 10 years and can't hold a candle to them. And
No.
I think when you have, good stage presence and like, for instance, I'm going to tap into one of your bits because I thought it was great. I mean, and it's just comedy's comedy, funny's funny, and you can do it for them. I watched your video on YouTube, your first appearance on stage, and tell the people what you said. If you do you remember it?
Yeah. Well, I think I remember it. First time I did it was I made the joke of that I was really nervous to be up there, and of course everybody started clapping a little
Yeah,
bit. And I said, no, 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 I'm not nervous about the joke. I'm nervous about this little stage that I'm on.
right.
So
That
I
was
wasn't
that
sure if
was
that
great
stage.
because all of them are like, clapping for you, and you're like, no, I'm not nervous about you. I'm worried about this
Yeah,
little damn stage. I'm a big guy.
yeah, I've been using that opening joke as much as I can because it works.
That's
So,
that's a great
um,
joke.
yeah,
And then you also do a bit, which, again, is kind of obesity is a disease.
mhm. Yeah, it's a disease. It's not about poor choices or lack of exercise. I don't know how they came up that it's a disease. Probably a couple of fat doctors saying, we'll just call it a disease."
Well,
Everything else is.
it's like alcoholism.
Right.
Let me
Yeah.
take a let me take a sip of my drink while I'm talking about.
Speaking of alcoholism.
Yeah, here's a pro tip for you. Now you said you don't drink much, but if you go like this, go like it's coffee,
What's funny about that is
and there's really booze in there.
my grandmother, God rest her soul, she would do that at the dinner table after dinner. We would have Sunday dinners together. And probably 20 years, I was probably 22, 23 years old. And I finally figured out that there was wine in what she said was her teacup. It was wine.
Took you that long.
It did.
Didn't
It
notice
did.
grandma was getting crinkled by dessert.
Yeah, grandma was getting lit up a little bit at the dinner table.
I'm really taken back by your approach and you obviously have skills. And I think, let me ask you this because I don't want to put words in your mouth. From the campground to now, are you more comfortable? Do you feel more? Do you think they're getting better?
Um, I mean, I think I'm getting better. I mean, obviously, I have my set bit. I mean, I'm lucky to where pretty much everything I joke about, talk about, is real shit. Like it's shit
Right.
that I deal with. That I've the rental chair, party rental
Yeah,
chair
that was
joke
great.
is legit, and it. I think what I'm
You
getting
can you can
better
do
at.
that. You can do that bit if you want to do that bit. Tell the people about that.
Sure, yeah, we can. If when we get to the 1 minute, I'll figure.
Oh,
I'll do something.
you're gonna do it there?
Yeah,
That's a
just
good
one.
bit.
So, but
Whatever you want to do, buddy. It's your comedy minute.
Okay. So I think I'm getting better at the traditional things that involve being a comedian, right? So, like up until I don't have my book with me, but up until a month ago, I didn't write anything down. I never write anything down. Like I
Really?
just, I guess because I do travel and drive. Yeah. I guess because I do travel and drive and stuff like that. I'm always thinking about it. Like I'm always just playing jokes out in my head, and I'll get to an open mic and I'll put them in my phone just so I know what order I want to go in.
Okay.
But a lot of it is, I mean, just something that I find funny, and I do a lot of callback stuff, when I can. If there's super funny comedians in front of me, I do a lot of callback. So I think I'm getting better at the traditional process. It's just I gotta find that line of I want to do what Brad wants to do and not be 100% traditional. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
that party rental chair joke, I talk about, being a fat guy, and usually I am the fattest guy in the room, right? So it's a bonus because when you talked about stage presence, I mean, I'm a pretty big guy and a pretty deep voice, so I can pretty much gather everybody's attention. But I talk about real life scenarios like fears I have right now, being fat. I mean, I'm 45 years old, so this is staying. It's not going anywhere. I've never listened to the doctors. So my biggest fear right now is a party rental chair. And, not like those nice ones that you see at like, you know, uh, an event or something. I'm talking about like the plastic one where it has the white frisbee
Yeah,
for
I
your
know.
back and then the white frisbee for your ass. And then it's held together with the two plastic chopsticks.
Right.
And I go into how, I slowly start to disperse the weight like it's going to make any
Yeah,
damn
you gotta be
difference.
careful.
Yeah, and I sit down and I'm okay, and then about 5 to 7 minutes into the wedding, I start to see my knees getting closer to my forehead, and I look down, and the feet are actually sinking into the ground. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm so fat I can move the earth. And I told my wife, I was like, we're about 7 minutes away from the bride and the groom not being the biggest story about this wedding.
Yeah. That's funny.
So but yeah, I mean that's all that just happened at Northampton Country Club, a couple years ago. So it's
Right.
all things that I mean, yes, I have some stuff that I made up, but um, it's just all real life, real life stuff. That hour I did at the campground the first time, that was just all things that I've noticed in 35 years of going there,
Yeah.
So but it's fun. I think the number one thing I have to try to remember to do is have fun. And one of the some of the advice I've gotten is, I got to be able to work clean. Got to be able to work clean. You'll give yourself more opportunities, all that type of stuff. And I get it. I understand it. But when I work clean, I don't have as much fun. Like it just, it gets very mundane to me. And I've done my first hour. Obviously, at the campground, it's family friendly, so I can do an hour of clean material without a problem. It's just,
Right.
I just don't feel like I'm being myself when I do it.
Well, Brad, not that I can tell you anything about anything, but I've had conversations with, some pretty prominent comedians. And I'll tell you the one bit of advice I got. It's a woman named Kathy Ladman. She's been on the Tonight Show back with Johnny Carson and with Leno, and uh, she's on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Very well respected comedian, and I was fortunate enough to be able to communicate with her. And I sent her one of my things, and it was pretty sketchy. And when I say sketchy, it was very dirty, and I wasn't sure she would respond to it. But she's like, Scott, just be true to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was to give you one advice that, actually came to me from Kathy Ladman, throw caution to the wind. If you like doing dirty stuff, do dirty stuff.
Yeah,
Don't try to be the clean guy if you're not a clean guy, because it won't come off.
yeah. Right.
Eventually.
I think you're 100% accurate with that. Or she
No,
was.
I know for me, my own brother has been, he thinks I have a vile tongue. He calls me the Howard Stern of comedy, and it's okay. I don't give a shit, if he doesn't, he hasn't bought a Your Comedy Minute shirt. He hasn't bought a coffee mug. That's fine, and it's again, I've kind of put this, in the forefront because this is what I want to do.
Hmm.
And what I'm doing now, I really like having people on at varying levels of skills I just did one, if you saw it last night, with Kevin Heisinger, who's playing,
Yeah.
big rooms in Los Angeles, and has thousands, 130,000 followers on Instagram, and he's a top pro comedian.
He's
And
got a great
today I'm
voice.
doing one with you who's just starting out.
Right.
But we
Yeah.
all have a story to tell, and we're all just trying to make people laugh.
That's it.
And again, I don't want to go into a rant here, but I kind of feel like I have a responsibility to try and help people
Sure.
at this point, because not that I'm blessed. I'll say this. I tell a lot of people this. I call it, what crumbs of joy can I steal from this day?
Hmm.
And that's it. Just get that crumb of joy today. You're providing that for me to be
Yep.
able to do one of these and hopefully make people laugh and to give them some insight into, hey, if you're going to try comedy, this is what Brad did.
That's what I tell all the guys that work for me every day. They say, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "Every day's a holiday. Just got to choose
Yeah.
to celebrate it."
Yeah.
Once you
That's what
choose to
you,
celebrate that day, you know it's going to be a good day.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great stuff, Brad. Well, look, we don't have a lot of time yet. I want to make sure we cover everything you want to talk about. That if we missed
Okay.
anything, upcoming shows you have, or anything you want to tell the people.
Um, I'll be at your local, up in Bucks County,
Okay.
open mic night, comedy cabaret is typically where you'll find me. Andy Scarpati is the owner of the Comedy Cabaret, Bucks County. Super nice guy, very supportive.
I'll be sure to
Um,
mention him.
yeah, and but just check out my social media pages. I usually put stuff up wherever I'm at. Summertime, I spend a lot of time up north, up in the Poconos during the summer.
Good.
Um, so I'll probably be slowing down a little bit, but I'm working on a couple things here, and we'll see what pans out. So
Okay. Well, Brad, I thank you so much for being on the show.
absolutely,
And
I
do you,
appreciate the time.
do you have a your comedy minute, or do you have anything you want to do for the folks?
So I have one movie you were talking about a movie. I have one scene in a movie that I just love, and I think it's one of the most underrated movies comedy, wise that's
Okay.
out there. And it's my favorite comedy movie, and it's Grumpy Old Men.
Oh, I
You ever
love that
seen Grumpy
movie.
Old Men?
I
Okay,
love it. Love
so
that movie.
when when they start looking at each other and they forgot what each of them said and what they were arguing about, they just go, "What? Huh? What?" It cracks me up. I love watching old,
I
grumpy old men
love that
like
movie.
that because
Walter Matthau. Who's the other guy? And Andy
Jack
Diamond.
um
Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemon. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that movie. And then there was a second one, Grumpier Old Men or something, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was during the springtime, and it had Sophia Loren, the
I
big
don't
tall
know.
redhead,
I'll tell
the
you,
Italian redhead.
the old guy, Burgess Meredith, was funny as hell.
He is hilarious.
I remember that one line he said, are you for, it was about the Hawaiian Islands. Ua
Yeah.
Wanalea. Ua
Yeah.
Wanalea. That was
I
good.
love that island. Come on, I want to lay you.
Yeah, Ua Wanalea. Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I tell people all the time, and I don't want to belabor the point, but my favorite movie of all time is Harlem Nights.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've ever seen it, but that has Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Della
Oh,
Reese, Red Fox.
yeah.
Red Fox is one of my heroes.
Yeah.
I just did one of these the other day with a guy that was, and he's not in that movie, but Bernie Mac.
Hmm.
I used to love Bernie Mac.
He's fantastic.
He was great. But
In fact, probably one of my favorite older comedians right now that everything he does, I'm just infatuated with is Steve Harvey and
yeah,
his style of comedy and his story. I know some people think he may come off a little bit pompous or brash or but his story and
yeah,
he appreciates where he's at now because you
sure.
see him go back into what he used to be,
Yeah,
and gets
yeah,
in that mode. And I just appreciate people that really remember where they came from, who remember you know working with Cheap Trick back in the day, and like you said,
yeah,
you want to give back. And I think that's where I'm at in my life now, where with the comedy I'm doing a lot more community service, community events. I'm very fortunate as to where I am,
yeah.
and just give back, just be cool, man.
Yeah,
I just want
yeah,
everybody to be cool, have fun, laugh a little.
yeah. You know what? My favorite bumper sticker of all time is "Mean people suck." I don't like mean people,
Then you wouldn't like
and
my wife.
it's real. I tell you, it's rough. My wife. Yeah, and it. You know what I find, and we're going to end on this, but uh, I find it real easy for, and I don't want to just say it's kids, but for people to get on the internet and go, "You suck, you're
Yep.
an asshole," and
No accountability.
well, yeah, because they
Of
wouldn't say it to your face if you were standing
course
right
not.
there with them, but
Yeah.
online they can just write what a terrible, get off the porch, fat old man.
Yeah,
Please stop.
exactly.
I
All
just had
right.
a guy the other day write, you're not going to be a star. Stop it. You suck. Okay. I'll tell you what.
Please like and subscribe. Thank you for your
Yeah, no, I love. I just had one the other night, and it was right before I went to bed. I swear to you. And it's weird how you said about like getting up or like you get a bit in your head. I actually get up and will write it down because I'll forget it. But I swear to you, right before I went to bed, I went over to Reddit and I saw a notification. I thought, I'll check this out. And it said, I hate this guy. And
Social media working. Check.
I laid in bed for a while and I kept thinking, I wonder why he hates me. And then finally I fell asleep pretty shortly thereafter.
I know he hates me, but how many of my posts has he clicked on?
Oh, that's something that, yeah, my friend who designed all my shirts and everything, he says, Scotty, your trolls are the best. They don't just hate you, they hate like 10 of your videos. They keep watching, they keep hating you.
Yeah. See, I'm
All
I'm
right, man.
lucky. Yeah, I'm lucky to where I have the personality of I'm not afraid of the confrontation. I'm not a violent guy by any means, but
Right.
I'm not afraid of confrontation. You're never gonna embarrass me.
Yeah.
I say enough shit about myself to not have to worry about anybody else. So,
Okay. Well, look, we're running out of time. Take care of yourself. I'll be in touch and hopefully we'll catch up in a little bit.
Scotty T, appreciate the time, buddy. Thank you so
Hang in
much.
there for a second. I'm going to just stop the recording.
You got